for you, because as you've been seeing, our healthcare system seems to be crumbling underneath this crisis. There is not enough. There's not enough support for the healthcare system. There's not enough support for the American people inside of the healthcare system. Are you now reconsidering your position when it comes to single-payer healthcare?
Single payer will not solve that at all. The thing that is needed is, for example, we have a whole number of hospitals that are being so stretched, including rural hospitals, they're going to need more financing. That doesn't come from a single payer system. That comes from the federal government stepping up and dealing with the concerns that they have, the reimbursement that they're going to get, how they're going to be able to move forward, and how they're going to be able to provide all the needed help that are needed in their communities. This is an opportunity to look at reconstructing the healthcare system in a way that, in fact, can respond more rapidly and more effectively.
You voting for that guy? Is that guy getting your vote? Is that guy getting your support? Are you going to go out and walk? It's not for that particular guy. I'm skeptical that you're going to do that. I'm not going to do that. There's going to be a lot of lefties out there that does go out there. Despite the fact that Joe Biden said he'd veto Medicare for all, he's against your policy priorities in regards to climate, in regards to taxes on Wall Street, he's against all of your policy priorities. There are going to be a lot of lefties who go out, get in their GIMP suits, get back in the closet, and support Joe Biden. 15% of lefties said they would vote for Trump. I would imagine you have some percentage like me who just wouldn't vote for either and probably would go Green Party. But for the most part, the majority of lefties are more likely than not going to vote for Joe Biden. They're going to turn around. Oh, I'm sorry. They're going to turn around and they're going to vote for Biden, just like they did Clinton. You had more people who voted for Hillary Clinton than percentage-wise than voted from Hillary Clinton to Obama. Puma, party unity, my ass. And yet they always go after Sanders. I want to point out something that is, I find to be like utterly profound. Nobody is talking about it. And I'm blown away by it. So I want to point it out. Welcome to the Soapbox. My name is Jamal Thomas. This is Progressive Soapbox. Guys, if you dig this content, please like, share, subscribe. You can always support PayPal, Patreon. Contributor appreciation will be this evening, probably around 5 o'clock. So definitely stay tuned for that. I wanted to point this video out, though. I'm not going to keep this video all that long, but I do want to point it out because you should be aware of this. You should internalize this. It should bother you. And I think lefties have gotten to the point of being so accustomed to it that you almost ignore it. It's almost like it's background. It's something that is just kind of ever-present like air that you just come to accept because it's always there. But it's not normal. It's really utterly bizarre. And this took place the entirety of 2020. The Democratic Party pretty much lined up doing so. Take a look at this. This is Bloomberg with an attack ad on Sanders. Now, keep in mind, this is a man with what, $50 billion? $50 billion. Basically attacking poor, faceless people on Twitter. It's astonishing. And yet, that is what took place.
It is vitally important for those of us who hold different views to be able to engage in a civil discourse.
Now again, this is a billionaire using money to attack poor, random people on Twitter and tying random people on Twitter to Sanders. This is what all of them did. Let's keep going. I just want to point this out. Because keep in mind, the point I'm trying to make here is that they didn't attack Sanders, or they were attacking Sanders, but basically they were attacking us. They went beyond going after the candidate and they attacked us directly, voters. Now understand what that means. The Democratic Party, who supposedly is on the left, is bashing voters who they will need to vote for them. Your vote is so assumed that they believe that they can relentlessly attack you, bash you, call you sexist, racist, and everything in between. And because you're so terrified of Trump, you have nowhere else to go, that at the end of that entire process, they expect you to fall in line. I'm amazed by that. Like, think about that. They went beyond attacking a candidate to hit the people themselves. That's utterly astonishing to me. Look at this lunatic, Jason, whatever his name, professor. They got fired.
Tina Turner. However, a large number of bargain basement, pathetic, doubly intensely ignorant, bigoted white boys who masquerade as liberals, who find themselves consistently in support of Bernie Sanders online, have decided.
Racists could consistently find themselves supporting Bernie Sanders online. Yeah, he got fired. Because in this video, he calls them black girl misfits. Here's another one. Look at this one. MSNBC. This was every day. MSNBC.
There's a ceiling. There is nowhere to go, but there is no up to go. And all of those support, I actually overheard someone saying that I thought was an interesting point, that basically at this point, if you are still supporting Sanders as opposed to Warren, it's kind of showing your sexism because she has more detailed plans and her plans have evolved. I thought it was an interesting point, and I think there may be something to it.
And everybody around her agreed. Here's the catch. That's just the motif. They don't want to say it themselves because they don't necessarily want to look bad. So they would just say, I heard somebody say this and I just thought it was interesting. So I'm just going to, Yeah. Harvey Weinstein did the exact same thing. Harvey, stand right here while I masturbate in a plant, apex predator, Hillary Clinton surrogate, Weinstein said the exact same thing. Somebody told me that Bernie Sanders was kind of sexist. It's astonishing. They do this. This is them. But again, that's not hitting Sanders. That's hitting us. If you're supporting Sanders, then you, the voter, is sexist. Astonishing. Listen to this one. Chuck Todd. Keep in mind, all of this goes within my point that this election season, they didn't attack Sanders. They couldn't lay a glove on Sanders. They did try to, but ultimately that stuff faded. They attacked us. We were the fodder for this campaign.
Last put in the bulwark today, and it was about how, in Ruth, we've all been on the receiving end of the Bernie online brigade. And here's what he says. He says, no other candidate has anything like this sort of digital brown shirt brigade.
He's just compared Bernie Sanders, first Jewish candidate for president, to Nazis. Chuck Todd has just compared Bernie Sanders and his supporters to Nazis. Let's keep going. Warren, how about her? Y'all remember her?
The women in leadership, the whole notion of publishing their personal addresses, their phone numbers, and then making very aggressive threats against their own safety and the safety of their families. That is not how we build an inclusive Democratic Party, and it is not how we build Donald Trump. We do not build on a foundation of hate.
I wonder.
We do not build on a foundation of hate. Who is she talking about? Us. She's talking about us. That woman had been grifting for votes and money and support and getting people to knock on doors. And now, when she collapses in the polling, when the left chooses Sanders, now she's bitter. And at that point, a foundation of hate. And whose fault is that? Bernie Sanders. He's uniquely responsible for the random fucking people on Twitter. Warren, same thing, same deal. Again, she's not a bug, she's a feature. I keep telling you that. Here's another one. Look at this one.
Well, I don't think so, but it is the way we're picking this one, and it looks like Bernie Sanders is hard to beat right now. I'm with Carville all the way in terms of the dangers of what lurks what lies ahead in November. I'm very much aware of them. They're sitting on so much Oppo research on Bernie, what he said in the past about world affairs, how far left he is. I'm not sure how far left he is, but they're going to make the most of that in terms of world politics. They're going to kill him. But I think it's a little late to stop him, and I think that's the problem. By the way, if you look at the pattern, it's dynamic. Bernie won the popular vote in Iowa. He won it again in New Hampshire. It looks like he's going to win it here when they finally get a vote. Bernie's been winning consistently, and I think it's mathematically understandable. Every time we poll, every time Steve and everybody polls, 2/3 of the Democratic vote, 2/3 of people who call themselves Democrats are either liberal or very liberal. All Bernie ever had to do, and he's done it beautifully, is get a majority of that, and he's up to the mid-30s. If you get half of 67, you're into the mid-30s, and that's where he's gotten it a little better. Biden, his only prayer was to consolidate the third of the vote that's moderate and conservative. And he got nowhere near clearing that field, nowhere near. That's split up 4 ways now. And so with new people coming in, Deval Patrick came in, he didn't make it. Bloomberg is in, he's probably going to survive a bit longer because of his money. But that field wasn't cleared. The only way Biden could win in that 1/3 of the vote that's either moderate or conservative is to sweep it. He got nowhere near. Bernie, on the other hand, did his job. He got more than a majority of that 67%. That is the name of the game. It is pretty much over unless that changes. I was reading last night, Brian, I know you're a history guy too. I'm reading last night about the fall of France in the summer of 1940. And the general, Renault, calls up Churchill and says, it's over.
He's just compared Bernie Sanders and his movement, once again, to Nazis, the first Jewish candidate. Now, to be fair to Chris Matthews, and it's hard to be fair to Chris Matthews because he has not been fair to me or my candidate. Again, they have slandered, slurred, attacked racists, sexists, bigots, bros, white boys who have privilege. All of these nasty names, aggressive, hateful, apparently abusive to women. They have attacked us. Think about how wild that is. You have a political party that functions in its ability to get votes, meaning the party rises or falls based on its ability to get votes. Who's voters? You have voters who can deliver a vote. There's nothing else that can deliver a vote. A dog is not a voter, so a dog can't vote. A voter has a very specific power within the context of the Constitution to give a vote. Politicians need those votes to get in office. They also need massive amounts of cash, but they also need those votes in the official sense. They went out and attacked people who are on their side, supposedly, within the political distribution, that they are full well expecting to turn around and support them. And without a second thought, without any hedge, they went out and created a narrative of Bernie Sanders supporters and just relentlessly attacked them. Now, what are those supporters going to do? If those supporters turn around and support the Democratic Party that did that, what does it mean about the supporters? More importantly, more interesting to me, is what does the Democratic Party perceive progressives as? If you're going to do that, if you're part of the Democratic Party and you come up with a plan, you say, you know what? We're going to attack its supporters. We're just going to relentlessly attack its supporters. Sexist, racist, bigoted, all that stuff. Bros, they're abusive to women, they hate women, etc. If you're going to do that, you have to think at some point, are they going to vote for me later? And they came to the conclusion, yes, they will. Which gets across, to some degree, the way they perceive progressives. But here's the rub. You can't say they're wrong, because progressives are going to turn around and vote for them. These are this is like every day. They're talking about bros and that shit. This shit is going on mainstream media every day. One millionaire after the next attacking us as political strategy, attacking us. And then when it came down to it, and it looked like Sanders was going to take it. Now, they expect your support continuously. It's assumed. It is so assumed. They think so little of you that they will attack you and then turn around and expect you to vote for them. Here's the catch. You assume that they will turn around and support you. You assume they will support you without anybody batting an eye. Brokered convention.
2 weeks away from a national
primary. And I want to ask all of you this simple question. There's a very good chance none of you are going to have enough delegates to the Democratic National Convention to clinch this nomination. Okay? If that happens, I want all of your opinions on this. Should the person with the most delegates at the end of this primary season be the nominee, even if they are short of a majority? Senator Sanders, I'm going to let you go last here because I know your view on this. So instead, I will start with you, Mayor Bloomberg.
Whatever the rules of the Democratic Party are, they should be followed. And if they have a process, they do.
I'm trying to do
so
this,
that
yes or no, to make it fast.
everybody can.
So you want the convention to work its will?
Yes.
Senator Warren.
But a convention working its will means that people have the delegates that are pledged to them, and they keep those delegates until you come to the convention. All of the people.
All righty. Vice President Biden?
Play by the rules.
Yes or no? Leading person with the delegates, should they be the nominee or not?
No, let the process work its way out.
Mayor Buttigieg?
Not necessarily, not to listen.
Senator Klobuchar?
See, Buttigieg answer, and I'm stopping here. Everybody said, with the exception of Sanders, let it play out. Meaning, each and every one of them was willing to go to a brokered convention. The media didn't say shit about it. They didn't care. They thought it was the most natural thing in the world for the Democratic Party to have a brokered convention. Why? To rip the nomination away from Sanders, despite the fact he had more delegates. They were never willing to back you. That's the point I'm trying to get to you. You're willing to give your support to a political party that does not have your policy priorities. If nothing about 2020, they don't have your policy priorities. And I'll tell you something else. The strategy that I'm talking about, this mass dissent, this getting behind very specific policy positions, 4 positions, having where the public itself can join in regards to supporting you without necessarily being attached to a party, and use that as leverage on the political space to either support or not support. Meaning, I can't win, but I can make you lose. And I can make you continuously lose to the point where you're no longer a viable party, and maybe us, in the pursuit of making you lose, become something a little bit more. Yes, that's cutthroat politics, but that's what you got. You're at the point where you have nothing if you're not necessarily willing to withdraw your support and force political concessions on the various parties, or at the very least make them lose. Don't take my word for it. Take Lawrence O'Donnell's word for it. I've shown this video 1,000 times because this video is absolutely awesome. I'll even just go to this part. I'm not even going to show the entirety of the video. Here's the catch, though, before I show this video. My lose-lose-win, that argument, the argument is just based on the notion that you have higher objectives. That winning in the specific pursuit of the contest may matter less than you accomplishing something else. Your accomplishment in the context of the political space needs to exceed an election. You have no legitimacy in the political space. They spent the entire election, nearly a year, bashing you and trashing you, even though they knew they would need your vote. They figured they would get your vote automatically, despite what they've said about you. I'm just astonished by that. So now you have a situation where, now what? The Democratic Party put up Joe Biden. You must understand, though, that the cutthroat politics I'm talking about is the exact same cutthroat politics that they used against you this time around. All of these people organized around a senile man to get that senile man over the finish line with Elizabeth Warren, Holden, Bernie Sanders, while Joe Biden got the killing blow. I'm making the point that they understood that Joe Biden was weak against Trump. They didn't care. The point was to stop Sanders. Now, what I mean by that is this is cutthroat politics in the same way that I am talking about. The only difference here is the issue was not between Biden and Sanders. The issue was between the Democratic Party and Trump. Biden and Sanders were, you could say, a mini drama in that. The drama would have got that much more significant if Sanders would have actually won. But in this very specific case, the Democratic Party understood Sanders could beat Trump. And if he did beat Trump, the Democratic Party will be fundamentally changed for a generation. FDR put his stamp on the party, and it is still there in regards to the rhetoric that the party uses. What would it look like with Sanders? I tell you this, Tom Perez wouldn't necessarily be head of the DNC, and he would fundamentally change it. The point I'm getting here is they were willing to lose to Trump if it meant stopping Sanders. And I'm making the point that we need to be willing to do the same. They weren't being afraid of Trump in this case. None of them are necessarily adversely affected by Trump. And I'm talking about the brain trust of the Democratic Party. Until you deal with this notion of you have nowhere else to go, until you can deal with this notion where you pull back out of the political process, state your demands, and be willing to stand by those demands, not a race to the bottom, but actually standing by some degree of principle. As long as you fold yourself into the party, you will never get what you want to accomplish. Medicare for all doesn't happen in the context of the party. Medicare for all happens. We have 30 million people lined up saying we want Medicare for all, and we're not willing to support any of you until we get it. That's when you get political change. When you get those 30 million people showing up at the White House, those 30 million people showing up at congressional centers, those 30 million people vocally and clearly making the point that you will not get our support without X or without Y. Meaning, you have no accountability currently in your political space. Your political actors get there and you put them in that office only because they're not Republicans, not because they're doing something affirmative in that office. I'm saying start looking at politicians and political leaders in the affirmative. I'm putting them there to do X or I'm putting them there to do Y. And if they're not willing to toe the particular agenda that I'm pushing, they don't get my support. Don't take my word for this. It makes all the sense in the world. How do you get somebody to do something if you continually support them when they don't do it?
Have to listen to you. I promise you that. They don't. If you don't show them you're capable of not voting for them, they don't have to listen to you. I promise you that. I worked within the Democratic Party. I didn't listen or have to listen to anything on the left while I was working in the Democratic Party because the left had nowhere to go.
The left had nowhere else to go. And that's so internalized that despite being attacked relentlessly, despite being smeared, despite them not just hitting your candidate, but literally making an attack plan to attack you, knowing full well that they would have to get your votes, and assuming that you are so lowly and so pathetic that you will once again put back on your gimp suit, get your head right, and get yourself some Joe Biden. I just find that to be an astonishing point of view. Like, I'm astonished by that on 2 points. One, that they were willing to attack people who they would literally need to vote for them if that meant stopping Sanders. And two, that the left, after being attacked that way, basically says, you guys are right. We are that low and pathetic. We are going to put back on a gimp suit. And the majority of them go back Biden. I'm astonished by that. When Bernie Sanders comes around at this point, every time, if he's doing a regular speech, fine. But the moment that he opens his mouth and says something about Joe Biden, this should be the response.
Immediately, right now, we have got to defeat Donald Trump. And we have got to elect Hillary Clinton and Tim Kaine.
I get no joy in playing this video. I hope you understand. And I understand a lot of people are going to unsubscribe me because of such. I also understand. Losing Sanders hurts. Fair enough. But I've said nothing wrong. Meaning, I've said nothing inaccurate. Sanders had somewhat of a dysfunctional campaign. I'm sorry. And the Political article is shocking to read. You read it for yourself. Don't take my word for it. It is shocking to read. Like the hobbling of his communications people and everything else. I guess it's a sad thought. I guess I'm making the point that love the guy. It gives me no joy to play that video. By the same token, it also gives me no joy for him to say go vote for Joe Biden, just like he said go vote for Hillary Clinton, when that party lined up entirely against him and his priorities. And I got to be honest, I've even asked myself, like, is this sheepdogging with the notion of getting people in the party? Like, all of this is just some kind of show and circus only at the very end to be like, all right, now y'all can go to the Democratic Party now that I got harnessed all that power. Is this the best use of his talents? I mean, is there no political imagination in this process? We're in the middle of a pandemic. What about coming out in that press conference and saying, I have no belief that Joe Biden can win this race? And because I have no belief that Joe Biden can win this race, he needs a certain degree of energy and dynamism that's not there. Look, he has my support, but I understand why these young people aren't voting for him unless he passes or agrees to push Medicare for all, Green New Deal, whatever. Then I understand them pulling away their support. That creates a litmus test. You haven't fractured what you've said. You are supporting Joe Biden. By the same token, you're allowing and giving permission to a large group of your supporters to be like, yeah, fuck that, I'm not voting for Joe Biden unless he's going to do X or Y. You've created a litmus test just by virtue of your language that you are using among millions of people. He's not going to do that. Like, he's not going to do that. He's not going to do that. Marcus will. Stream. I'll check it out, Marcus. Megan Morales. Many left organizations arguing for new parties must unify under one party or will continue to be DSA, Green Party, PSL, Social. Yes. I mean, that's kind of my point, right? That's why I keep saying not the party, policy. Like, that's the conclusion I've come to. Meaning, say for the moment you're pushing 4 policies: Medicare for all, Green New Deal, wealth tax, electoral reform, getting rid of student debt. Let's say 5 policies. And all of those policies were popular. The only policies you pushed were policies that the overwhelming majority of the population agrees with, 50, 60%. And then you go and you say, this is what we want. That's not a party. These are just policies. This is what we want. And we're not willing to support anybody who's not enforcing these policies when they get in office. And if you can get your numbers to grow 10 million, 15 million, at that point, it's not a party issue, it's a policy issue. And somebody who's DSA or Green or hell, even maybe a Democrat might say, yeah, I like those policies. In which case they get behind you to create a spearhead in regards to those policies. Now the catch becomes, does that become something more? Meaning in spearheading to be against anybody who's not necessarily towing those particular policies, because your argument is, this is what the American population wants. Go do your job and pass these policies, and starting holding politicians to some degree of accountability. That needs to be under one umbrella. It can't be all of these fucking parties. Find 4 or 5 policies that you want. Scream to high heaven. Get as many people backing you as you can. And put every bit of weight on the political space as you can. And state after state or city after city, find the political leaders that have something to do with it. Press. Pensive TM. Our only hope is to make the DNC, #DNC, as afraid of the hashtag, not me, us, as the RNC is of Make America Great, of Trump supporters. Yeah, they're terrified of Trump supporters. Some of the behind the scenes conversations showed that they were a little timid. Our peeps forgetting that BS, never touch his friend Liz. Never touch his friend Liz. Yeah, that was BS. She fucked him over. And the wild part in the Political article, he was shocked by it. He didn't see it coming. How could you not see that coming? He's like, maybe she's not as progressive as I thought. No shit, Sanders. No shit. I could see Warren coming a mile away. If everything a person is doing in the race is injuring you, then maybe they're not in the race to help you. For fuck's sake. I mean, you should have joined with Tulsi Gabbard if you were going to join with anybody. You should have did so sooner. I am hard-pressed to believe Warren would have ever supported Sanders. And so, I can't know that as a flat fact. All this stuff counterfactuals and all, but I will say, why can't I see that? Oh, there we are. Our peeps. Oh, I read that one. There you are. The real threat was the early active support from activists and alternative media, which might have fallen into the wrong candidate's hands. Bernie cut off all routine back to allow Trump to get into office in 2016. Fucking A. That's the other point that a lot of people don't discuss. If your name is Sanders, and you think to yourself, God, I don't want Trump getting in office because he's going to cut Social Security and Medicare. Those are 2 programs that I believe in so staunchly that I want to expand both. Okay, great. is Joe Biden the best person to beat Trump, or are you the best person to beat Trump? And if you're willing to take a knee for Joe Biden and he is not the best person to beat Trump, then you have effectively allowed Trump to get in office again and cut Social Security and Medicare. Look, I understand that he has certain ideological guidelines. I understand that Joe Biden is his buddy and everything else, but also you need to understand what just happened. Health, Social Security expansion off the table, Medicare expansion for Medicare for all off the table, getting rid of college debt off the table. I know Joe Biden is putting out a plan, but there are going to be all sorts of gotchas and whatnot in that particular plan in order to exclude as many people as possible. And the moment that you put means testing on it, the Republican Party is going to find a way to whittle away at it. That's not going to last any more than it lasted before when it was enacted, meaning the ability for people to go to school for free. Yeah, you're right. I mean, ultimately, not hammering Biden is effectively allowing Trump, to get further along. All right, I'm going to end this here. Like, share, subscribe. Thanks all.